Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Society of Schenectady. I am Geoff Lundy, your worship associate this morning, and any pronouns fit when referring to me. This morning, Reverend Lynn Gardner, she, they pronouns, and I are exploring our UU value of love at the center. Wherever you are on your journey of finding truth and meaning, whether you arrive joyous or with a heavy heart, we are grateful that you have chosen to be here this morning.
And now we invite you to settle in a bit more fully into your seat. And let us breathe in peace and breathe out love as we move into our time of worship, that is, lifting up that which is of worth together.
The flaming chalice is a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, with a light of inspiration held in a cup of community. This morning, Matthew Anderson will light our chalice with these words from Sherry Woodbury.
Again, we reground ourselves here in our highest values.
Love is the center and foundation of this faith.
Love is the power that holds us together as a community.
As we enter into worship, then let us open our hearts to the healing power of liberating love.
Because love is not only something we receive, but something we practice in community.
Let fall away all that might distract us from the wholehearted practice of love.
Let us be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love.
As we continue to listen and learn, to act and grow,
may each unfold in wholeness,
both deeply loving and truly loved.
In these tender and tumultuous times, it can be helpful to remember that we are not
alone, that we are interconnected to one another, to our wider communities, and to the earth, which sustains us. This morning, we remember that we are connected to other faith communities. Rabbi Matt Cutler, who serves Congregation Gates of Heaven, shared a prayer for justice, compassion, and community with our interfaith clergy group, Schenectady Clergy Against Hate. And versions of this prayer are being shared in a variety of faith communities as they gather this weekend. Will you join me in the spirit of prayer, whatever that might mean or not mean for you, in whatever posture might allow you to experience a sense of connection with that which is larger than any one of us. Source of life, we come before you, many with heavy hearts, aware of the crises shaking our world and our communities. Violence, displacement, inequity, and fear. We lament lives lost, families endangered, and the suffering caused by policies and actions that fail to honor the dignity of every person. Grant wisdom and restraint to those in authority. Inspire them to act with justice, mercy, and humanity, protecting the vulnerable and upholding the rights of all people. May laws and policies reflect compassion as well as order, and may communities of faith and conscience serve as witnesses to do what is right and humane. Strengthen us to act courageously and with integrity. Give us clarity to respond to injustice with dignity, to support those in need, and to rise together across differences. May our words and deeds reflect care, empathy, and solidarity, reminding all that how we treat the most vulnerable defines the character of a society. Comfort those who suffer. Encourage those who work for peace and justice, and unite us as neighbors and as people of faith in the resolve to live in a way that honors the sacredness of every life and the health of our shared community. Amen.
Please imagine this scene from the 2019 movie, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Fred Rogers, portrayed by Tom Hanks, is being interviewed by the journalist Lloyd Vogel, played by Matthew Rhys, who has just voiced the observation that it could not have been easy for Fred's sons to grow up having the famous Mr. Rogers as a parent. Tom Hanks' eyes briefly blaze in anger, vexation, humiliation, frustration. Then his character, Fred Rogers, stiffly relates that his sons did have some difficulties in their teenage years, and thanks Lloyd for finding that perspective. I do not know if that happened, or if it did, that it played out quite that dramatically. Cinematically, it's a great way to demonstrate that Fred Rogers was very human. He could get hurt, get angry, be frustrated. But he did not allow those feelings to rule him. His wife Joanne confirmed that Fred cultivated caring, compassion, and kindness, and the loving acceptance of people just as they are. He worked at it. His life is proof it's an obtainable goal. I too get hurt, angry, and frustrated, but it takes me longer than a few seconds to work my way around that. Give me an hour or two, perhaps a day or two. It rarely lasts for weeks on end anymore, as it once did. I do not know what process or practice Fred Rogers used. I find that the Buddhist metta-meditation technique helps me. If one of my coworkers says something intended to be hurtful, it's usually a quick fix. I consider the source. Usually, I can so readily see them as my fellow humans who are hurt, who suffer from delusions and fears just as I do. Once in a while, though, a coworker comes out with something so hateful, racist, homophobic, xenophobic, or other judgmental statement that I do not so easily let go of. Of course, I counter with compassionate logic and or verifiable facts, because centering love doesn't mean I remain silent. But I also may start to fume internally for quite a while. Compassion is gone. Kindness is gone. Nowhere to be found. My caring intention is to browbeat them into being better people, or at least to concede that I'm a better person than they are. This anger or rage rattles around in my mind. It colors and distorts everything I try to do. It's no longer a beautiful day in Geoff's mental neighborhood. Thankfully, I rarely speak this toxic doggerel out loud. If I should, I will have to apologize. It does not come from my heart. It's from my mind, my ego, my non-acceptance of them just as they are. When I notice myself wallowing in this nasty, noisy mess, which can take a surprisingly long time, I can shut it down long enough to take action. I start reciting the UU hymn 1031 from the Teal hymnal, filled with loving kindness, usually silently and softly to myself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. I acknowledge myself as a human who makes mistakes and misjudges, that I am out of sorts, and let me be recentered on and loving. Then I picture whoever has vexed me and recite the second verse. Today I'll call him Jim. May Jim be filled with loving kindness. May he be well. May Jim be filled with loving kindness. May he be well. May Jim be peaceful and at ease. May he be whole. I accept that Jim is also a human being who makes mistakes and misjudges, and I am praying that he be helped just as I am seeking help to be more loving. Then the third verse. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. I envision us not in conflict, not as opponents, but as fellow travelers in life who have differing viewpoints and opinions. I believe in the transforming power of love and the strength of loving kindness. This is not a cure-all. It's rarely a one and done. I repeat as necessary throughout the day, or whenever my bilious thinking reemerges. Nor do I forget what was said that I allowed to aggravate me. But now, hopefully, I can approach Jim with a better attitude. So when we speak, it comes from the heart, with care and compassion, and a loving acceptance of him just as he is.
There are things about Unitarian Universalism
Universalism that can be confusing. How does it work if all the people in a denomination or even in one congregation don't share the same theology? Does that even make sense? What does it mean to be an association of congregations when there isn't someone in power who can tell all the congregations what they have to do? What kind of decisions can be made when around 1,000 congregations have to weigh in? Well, what I can tell you is that decisions like that take time. With about 1,000 congregations and hundreds of thousands of members having a chance to participate, when we say that these are our shared UU values, it is because so many Unitarian Universalists had a voice in the process. And this is what we came up with for now, because we're a living tradition. And so we know that none of the words that we choose or the ideas that we have are meant to be permanent. As a denomination, over a multi-year process, Unitarian Universalists said that we value transformation, interdependence, generosity, justice, equity, pluralism, with love at the center. That is, that love is the foundation and the filter through which everything else is experienced. We can have more complete equity with love. We can practice pluralism or respect for different beliefs more fully with love. We can work for justice in our communities and in the world more effectively with love. We can experience transformation within ourselves, within our families, within the congregation, within our society when we love. We can give and receive more generously with love. We can truly know ourselves to be interdependent with love. Love is at the center, always. Over a decade ago, Wendy and I traveled to Montana to officiate at a wedding. And while we were there, I was able to connect with a friend of mine from high school. My friend and I had been part of different religious traditions as we were growing up. And by then, I was an ordained UU minister. My dear friend knew that Unitarian Universalists have a variety of theologies. Our history is grounded in Universalist and Unitarian Christian traditions, all of which were considered radical at the time. And in the 19th century, these expanded to include transcendentalist, Jewish, humanist, earth-centered, and Buddhist theologies, all of which might be layered or woven with agnostic, mystic, theist, or atheist perspectives. We have a kaleidoscope of theological options. And so, my friend asked, if you don't all believe the same thing, what holds Unitarian Universalists together? We had a great conversation about creeds and covenants, about ritual and theology. And what I kept coming back to in our conversation, what I kept naming that holds us together, was love. Love at the center. Not a fluffy or glittery depiction of love that might show up on the surface and then blow away in a strong wind, like yesterday, but a love that is steadfast and that will be there through hard times. We may have only articulated our shared values fairly recently, but when I look at our history, love has been at the center for a long time. We could say that love was at the center in 1553 when Michael Servetus, a Spanish physician and theologian, declared the oneness of God and that every child was born sin-free. 1553. Servetus held fast to love and to his beliefs, even though doing so cost him his life. Love was at the center when John Murray, a Universalist preacher, traveled from England to the colonies, not sure where he would end up, but finally connecting with Thomas Potter, who had built a church on his farm in hopes that someday a minister would come. Love was at the center in the early 1900s when Florence Buck served a Unitarian congregation in Iowa. She officiated at a memorial service for a man who was a longtime alcoholic. And when none of the male ministers of any denomination in town would officiate, she told all of those present that they were loved by God and that they were welcome in their church. Love was at the center when Frances Ellen Watkins Harper wrote poems about abolition and suffrage and being a free Black woman and read them aloud as a member of the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia. Love was at the center when Universalist and Unitarian clergy and lay leaders joined Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King in Selma. And love was at the center when they gathered to grieve the deaths of Viola Liuzzo and Reverend James Reeb. Love was at the center in 2011 when members of this congregation joined with others who advocated for marriage equality in New York, and then again in June of 2015 when Unitarian Universalists led the way to marriage equality nationwide. Love was at the center last week when Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, our UUA president, was arrested by Capitol Police in the Rotunda in Washington, D.C., where she and other clergy were protesting the Department of Homeland Security budget. And love is present here this morning, ready to be the spirit of this church, if we will only follow love's lead. As I noted at the beginning of this homily, sometimes Unitarian Universalism can be confusing. It is a faith that affirms the inherent worth and dignity of every person and acknowledges that how we each find truth and meaning may be different. It can almost seem like Unitarian Universalism is all about the individual. But as our colleague and friend, Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd wrote, perhaps my theology isn't actually about me at all. If love or relationality or commitment to interconnections really lies at the center, then theology hasn't ever been about me. It's about who I am in covenant with, what that covenant asks of me, and how I am held by the covenant in relations to that force which is and will always be much larger than myself alone. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. We rest in this love. In our story for all ages this morning, there was a child who asked big and hard questions of her mama. In her questions, she asked, "What if I make a mistake? Will you love me then?" She asked, "What if I do something that I know you won't like? Something that will be annoying and intentionally hard? What if I do something that really irritates you? What about then? And what if I push you away or I leave you? Will you still love me? And what if I turn into something dangerous? What if I become something harmful? Will you love me then?" And the mama, who is clearly a universalist at heart, says, "Even when I am scared or angry or sad, even then I will love you." Now, it may seem like a sweet or simple story for children, but the message is so much more than that. It is a message or a reminder to each of us of the power of love and who and how we can be if we choose to have love as our foundation and our center. In the 8.5 years that Wendy and I have served as your ministers here, we have been with some of you when you have been scared, when we have been scared. And yet, you kept on loving. We have been here with you when people have been angry or hurt or betrayed, confused, sorry, or deeply sad. And we have witnessed when you have allowed love to center and hold you through those times. And we have done all that we can to do the same. Like the meta meditation that Geoff led us in, keeping love at the center is a practice. And much like a potter who learns to center their clay on a potter's wheel, having the clay at the center isn't the goal. The goal is to make something with the clay. And learning to center the clay allows the potter to do that. Keeping love at the center allows your board of trustees to ask great questions and make brave decisions on behalf of the congregation. Keeping love at the center could allow you to set a clear boundary when someone in your life uses words or actions that are harmful. Keeping love at the center may give you the patience you need when your 2-year-old brings you their favorite book that you already read 17 times today, and as they snuggle into your lap to read it again. Keeping love at the center may give you the courage to show up at a protest or make 5 phone calls or introduce yourself to a neighbor or to make a clear plan for what you are going to do when ICE shows up. Keeping love at the center may be expressed through you as compassion and care when you read in circuits that someone is going through a tough time, and so you send a card or prepare a meal to bring to them. Keeping love at the center may show up as joy when you have a dance party with your grandkids or celebrate a success with a coworker or volunteer to help UUSS celebrate 125 years next month. Having love at the center isn't the point. It is what we make of that love that truly matters. May we be accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. And may we return to love again and again as our center, as our foundation, so that we may have the courage and patience to act with compassion, create justice, and celebrate with joy. Salam, shalom, ashe, amen, namaste, and blessed be.